Where do we draw the line? Because people are going to have differing opinions. I don't think that, I'm not recommending that we consider everything that somebody might call controversy. I'm saying we must for sure have a say on sexually graphic content, because even with our sexual education program, we send a permission slip home to parents because we want them to know what we're going to be teaching. And there's nobody on this board that would say, even in the books that we've talked about that have sexual nature, that that's not graphic content. There's nobody up here that will say that. And so if we would not share that content in a sexual education class, if we would not sell that, if we would not share that content in a language arts book, in a math book, no way should we allow students to be able to walk into a library and pull that scene off the shelf and sit and read it. Like, I don't think anybody can defend or say that that's okay if it's not okay for a sexual program, like a sexual ed program.
That's curriculum, and this is books in the library, and it doesn't say that there can't be sexual content. It says pornographic or prurient sexual, which means solely for sexual gratification.
Yeah, I agree with that. But remember, I prefaced my comment with this policy goes beyond what the law has asked us to do, because we had the policy before the law giving us the ask. So I'm just saying, as a team, because we are about optimizing processes, policies, all that good stuff, can we optimize this process to say there's enough people that have expressed concern, and even on the board, there's some of us that have said there's a need to be, there is a need for us to look at what we're doing and see how we can optimize. I'd like to hear some other people's perspectives.
So I'm just going to summarize the constructive things we've heard so far, which is what I was asking for us to get to today. So looking at what surrounding districts are doing, maybe similar size districts, not just in Hamilton County, but our surrounding area. Looking at where there might be gaps in the process. I think the end result I wanted to constructively say is, per the law, challenges have to come to us. That we cannot change that part of so no matter what, when books are challenged, they are going to come to the board because that is what the law says. That part of it, we are not going to be able, there's nothing we can do about that. And so, but again, did I miss any of the constructive things that?
Yeah, can you address the two recommendations I made, which is how can we have librarians screen for graphic?
Yeah, I said
I'd like that.
Yeah.
What, I didn't hear you address that.
I said that screening for books and looking at the gap. You overarched it with the gaps in the process, which is what I was framing it as.
Okay.
Yeah.
If I can add a comment to some of Jennifer's points is, this whole topic of censoring and banning comes up in this, and we are forced as a board to either, we're not banning the book, censoring it. I mean, that when you talk about that in a society, it's like removing the book from society. We're not talking about that, but our current policy could end up in having books removed from the library based on a board vote, that a lot of parents would just as soon have the book stay on the shelf, okay? So the way the policy is written now, it could cause us to remove books. I'm suggesting we come up with a policy that would say we don't remove the book, we put it in a different zone of sorts, some kind of a logical or some kind of a zone where both sides are satisfied with how it works. It works for both sides. Right now it's polarized. So I just want to make that clear, is that we could end up removing books that a lot of parents would want to have their kids to have access to.
Okay, noted as one of your constructive recommendations. Thank you.
I just want to kind of, I'm not close, I guess, my own thoughts, is that I want to read to you what our policy says, because I feel like that's kind of what I'm trying to say is the school, so this is our policy 5522. The school libraries housed within the school corporation support and enrich the curriculum, students' personal interest, and learning. The goal of Carmel Clay School's library media centers is to provide a wide range of materials on all levels of difficulty, with diversity of appeal, and with the presentation of different points of view. The development, selection, and maintenance of the library media collection at each school is the responsibility of the school media specialist. The media specialist at each school examines educational reviews and professional resources to help guide the selection process. CCS media specialists use the following criteria to select items for the library collection. The policy then lists 13 things. This is in addition to their master's degree in, oh my God, library sciences. So they are using their education on top of just this very basic list. Then it goes on to say, despite the careful selection of and the qualification of those involved in selection processes, objections to school library media materials may occur, which is your point, our point. And then it goes into talking about how you can get that removed. So for me, about having a process when our very highly educated, highly experienced media selections pick a book that someone feels is not appropriate for the broader population, after which I hope that they've already personally talked to the media specialist about their own child, there is a process in our policy that what they need to do to go through the thing to get that book removed. And we have seen that. Again, we have seen it where we remove the book, and we've seen it where we don't. So for me, we're reinventing the wheel here and adding more restrictions because we think that a subgroup may have a specific thing for a book. We have a procedure, we have a policy, and we have very dedicated who care about our kids school media specialists. So I really just wanted to full circle here. I know that they have the best intentions. I have a junior in high school. When I say nefarious, she sometimes is. She sometimes does stuff that I don't want her to do, even though I've talked to her and I've told her all the things. But I feel like we have bigger fish to fry. I feel like we have lots of issues that our school media personnel are dealing with. We have lots of things that our teachers, our administrators, we already have a very well thought out policy. So for me, personally, I feel that it suits our needs at the time. So that's all I want to say.
Katie, how in that policy are we addressing the gap that students have access to materials without their permission, the parents' permission? How are we addressing that gap? Because that is not in the policy.
And I
a
think that is
student
what we
can-
talked, those are some of the things that I have written down, I have them highlighted.
Uh-huh,
And that is for the policy liaisons
uh-huh.
to look at.
So we're saying next
To
steps.
do some research. That is what we're asking.
That's what
That
yeah,
sounds
okay.
like to the board that we are asking the policy liaisons to look at some of these things. We're not making a decision. We're not changing anything at this moment.
Mhm.
We had a discussion this evening, which is all that it was, which was our intention, and we had a great discussion. I really appreciate it. And again, we have the constructive items, and the policy liaisons will move on with that.
Louise, you asked me that question, and I'll just give you my answer to that. Is I feel like we have highly educated, trained professionals who have these books in the library, and if I disagree as a parent about any of those selections, I have it at my fingertips to be able to not only go through the process for my own child, but for the process of the entire district through our policy.
But that is a response, but it didn't address that students, we said parents can control what students pick up. And if a parent can't keep their kid from coming and getting a book and sitting down and reading it that they don't agree with, that is a gap in the policy, is what I'm talking about. That's a gap.
So
So
you don't
this-
think that they could contact the media specialist and let them know that they don't want their child to have access to that book?
No, no.
I would like to know if these are real. This is
Real.
just me being honest,
Yes, real.
not being snarky.
Yeah, yeah.
Do these
Real.
situations happen? I don't
Real.
know. I mean, or is this fear-based of my child might go? I don't know.
Mhm.
And so I think that is part of the information I would love for you guys to
Let me just
gather.
let me
Yeah.
make sure I understand your question, or maybe I'm going to address it. So if I have multiple people in the community that have said these scenes that I have examples of for books that are in the library, I would be uncomfortable with my kid taking that book off the library shelf, but I don't know that it's there. So if my son goes in and takes the book there, I can't tell a librarian, don't let my son read that, because I don't know the book is there.
But you have access to all of Destiny. What I was saying was, do we know that those situations happen? Do we
Yes.
know that?
I also think that we
Yes,
have
I
to,
don't-
there is a level of trust. There is a level of trust that Carmel Clay Schools are hiring media specialists who pick things. And if we feel that what they selected is not appropriate, then that's where the policy comes in. And there is, of course, we send our kids off into the day and we don't necessarily, we're not standing there, we're not following them. So there is that level, and I feel like at a certain point, we have to trust our district. We have to trust our media specialists, and if we don't, if we feel that a book has been selected that we don't agree with, there needs to be a path to remove that, and that's what I feel like we have.
So I think a good
Yeah,
first
I
step
get
would
that.
be to
I
look
get
at what
that.
other districts are doing. I would like to know if other districts, so we have the process right in front of us, and the process the parent puts in a complaint. I know
Yeah.
that the media specialists have read all the books that they bring into the libraries. And then the committee has to read the book. I would like to make sure that boards are reading all of the books to get the comprehensive look at the entire book as well before voting on something. So that would be my only thing I would say to change about this, is to make sure that before we're making a decision whether we're keeping or getting rid of a book, that we have the whole complete picture of the book.
So we don't think as a team we need to align on what is sexually explicit and challenge our staff to rise to that.
The law is pretty clear on what.
But the policy was before the law. That's my point.
But then we adopted the policy after. So yes, we had
Right.
a policy, so we were going above and beyond, but now we are agreeing with the law. I don't think our role as a
We can't-
board member is to just describe what is explicit in books. That's what we follow
What's
the law.
what's appropriate learning materials, what's appropriate for students to have access to, we are responsible for that, but I'll pause.
But we
I'll
can't
pause
do
'cause
less
I've
than the law.
stated it, and we're a
we ha-
team. I've
and-
stated my perspective, but we're a team, and at the end of the day, I always move forward with the team.
And so you
So,
guys
yeah.
know, one of the big things about policies is, and as you know, it's federal government, right? And then state, and then local, and we're kind of at the bottom. And so when there's a state law, like the one that our policy is based on, we really don't even need a policy. Just so you know, for many of these things, what trumps everything? The state law. And so the state law is written as it was written, and we have to follow that. So we have to use their rules for what is the obscene and the harmful material. That is what the policy is based on, because we can't do less than that, or we're not following the law, and then we're in trouble. So that is what we have to be doing, and that is what our policy is based on. All right, thank you, everybody. That was a great discussion. Policy liaisons, you have some work to do. Thank you.
So
You have
could I ask so the policy liaisons are going to go do some work and then come back to the board
Yes.
with some recommendations on what we might do?
I think the vision I would have is that I can email the policy liaisons the suggestions, the constructive things for moving forward the next steps. And when that material has been gathered, then we would report that at a meeting so we can discuss. Again, we cannot discuss any of this in emails. We would have to discuss that publicly.
I would also like to ask for that is that we consult with legal counsel to make sure we were within the binds of what we can legally do as a board. I would also like to make sure that we always remember that our job is to be board policy, and then our job is to then turn it over to our sole employee, Dr. Beresford, who then hires the superintendents and the staff. Our job is not the day-to-day management. So that's also something that I want to make sure that we don't go from the governance role into the administrative role. So that's something I also want to keep.
And I want to make sure I add, it's our responsibility to represent the entire population of Carmel, and there's opposing views. And so it's our responsibility to make sure our policies are comprehensive of multiple perspectives. And so I think the discourse that we're having today is representative of that, and I want to see it funneled into our policies. So I'll add that.
Okay. Thank you. Dr. Beresford, you are up next. Our next agenda item is our reports.
Well, I'm going to give everybody a break because my bell ringer is the meeting is over. You can go home and have a nice evening. Thank you.
But wait.
Thank you. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
That was Katie. Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Louise, thank you. Meeting adjourned.
This is my nasty tissue. Put my gun back in my holster.
Don't even.